Thanks for tuning in to Born to Ride TV, the longest running biker TV show in the world. This week we go to Maggie Valley, North Carolina to Wheels Through Time as Jim Miller and Neil Bailey hang out with owner Dale Walksler for a personal tour and more. Then it's off to Harley-Davidson of Tampa for the weekend fun bikini bike wash. All this and more here now on Born to Ride.
Hey, this is The Undertaker, and you're watching Born to Ride.
Hi, I'm Jim Miller with another edition of On the Road. Today I'm in Maggie Valley, North Carolina at the Wheels Through Time Museum with Neil Bailey. Neil, tell us a little bit about, you've been here before, so tell me a little bit about what we're going to see here today.
Well, Jim, firstly, great to be back on the road for Born to Ride as ever. Good to see you up here in my neck of the woods. As you said, we're at the Wheels Through Time Museum. This is a 40,000 square foot facility. It is stuffed full of American motorcycles. There's 240 vintage American motorcycles here from the turn of the century all the way through. 23 different marks are represented here. And the whole collection inside the museum is the work of one man, and that man is Dale Walksler. And this is just the most incredible place you have ever been. Everything in this museum runs, and Dale is probably going to fire something up for us and tell us a little bit about the museum today.
As I walk around here, I am just amazed and speechless at some of the things that I see. And watching Dale take visitors and crank up an old motorcycle and rev the thing up, it's incredible. And everybody is just flabbergasted and excited, almost like a kid, to see these old bikes run.
What's been really nice for me, Jim, is since I came to Wheels Through Time a couple of years ago, is becoming friends with Dale. I've written a lot of stories about the museum. We've done some really cool projects. I followed Dale as he restored a 1924 Harley-Davidson, brought it back to life. Last year, back in the summer, Dale took out his 1936 great race motorcycle. It's a development engine Harley. He took an old panhead, and we spent 3 days riding along the Blue Ridge Parkway, and it was just tremendous.
Well, I'm really excited about this. Why don't we see if we can find Dale and have him show us around?
Well, you know what, Jim? I think I saw him down at the old workshop working on a generator or something. So should we see what he's up to?
That old vintage shop that he's got down there?
Yeah, he was working on a piece sitting over there. So let's go see if we can find him.
Come along with us.
Hey, Dale, what are you up to there?
You know, I was trying to make this 1918 Bosch Magneto spark again. My Henderson's a little weak in the mag area, and I thought this might bring it back to life. Looks like I've got it working pretty good.
Last time I was here last year, we went out, we took a ride in the Blue Ridge Parkway. Let's talk a little bit about that ride.
You know,
what were we riding?
That was really such a great ride. You know, the yellow motorcycle, the 1936 prototype Flathead 80 was the bike that Wayne Stanfield rode in the Great American Race from Ottawa, Canada to Mexico City in 1995. And that's kind of my regular rider bike. And of course, the green bike's a 56 Harley Panhead that came from right here in Maggie Valley. A really interesting fellow that was a musician, thought this would be a good home for it. And what a great time we had. You know, we put 500-600 miles on in a weekend and love to do it again.
Tell us how you got started. Give us a little bit of, this didn't just happen overnight, I'm sure.
Well, you know, I think probably a very important event in my life when I was 15 years old, I bought an old motorcycle, and a friend of mine sold me an old bike about the same time. Sold me this whole 1938 Harley Flathead for $90, and I was in the process of fixing up my old 52, and in working on those two bikes, I sold one part off that 1938 Harley for $125. And I said, I think I could do this the rest of my life. And, you know, 38 years later, 24 years in the motorcycle industry, here we are at Wheels Through Time, and it's really the living history of what we all love.
Tell us a little bit about some of the specialty bikes. We have a bike here called a Traub. I mean, this is a fantastic piece. What's the story here?
I really think people drive thousands of miles to look at the Traub motorcycle, hear it run. I drive it pretty regularly, almost every day. And the Traub is such a unique piece. It was discovered in a bricked up wall in Chicago in 1967. And at that time it was realized that there was no, other than the maker's name, there was no history of this particular make or mark of motorcycle. So 35 years later, we're still looking for maybe a clue to whoever could have built this motorcycle. After it was pushed out of the bricked up wall in Chicago, it went to California. Bud Eakins owned the bike for a while, and of course Bud was Steve McQueen's stuntman and a very interesting fellow. He sold the bike to a fellow named Richard Morris, and I had been in Richard's garage and saw the bike some time ago and fell in love with it, and in a subsequent conversation with Richard, he informed me he was going to sell that rare motorcycle, and after some deliberation, I was the next owner. Now it's here and it's delighted. 100,000 people have really enjoyed looking and seeing that motorcycle run.
What are some of the special parts about it? I mean, what made it so different from bikes of that era?
Well, it's really so unique in manufacturing. If you look at Harley Davidson or Indian of that same period, they had a staff of drafting people and pattern makers and machinists, and the Traub is actually superior in most ways to other motorcycles of its same time period. It has a very unique engine. It has a 4-inch stroke and a 3.5-inch bore. It's 78 cubic inches. It has a very novel 3-speed transmission that has 2 neutrals that are indicated on the shift pattern with a 0 rather than an end, which is unique. It has double acting rear brake. All the controls and tanks and frame are all hand built. It looks like it's a factory produced model, but no known history of that particular maker.
Motorcycle listings. Sell or find your next motorcycle, watercraft, RV, or trailer at motolistings.com.
Do you get our monthly exclusive newsletter? Sign up at borntoride.com and get on our mailing list today.
I think there's only 6 of these monsters left in the world. Nobody really knows how many big valve X machines were ever built. 1915, 16, up through 1920, the Big X was really the star of the board tracks and dirt tracks around America. It really kicked butt, and you can see why. 61 cubic inches. I think it's got 2 1/4-inch valves. That's where it gets its name. I've started this bike probably 100 times for visitors here at Wheels Through Time, and it always amazes everybody, the noise and the speed that this machine makes. I've actually raced this bike at Davenport 2 or 3 times, raced it at Wauseon. What a bike it is. 61 cubic inches, no brakes, no clutch, truly an extreme machine. I would have to say it would be the super bike of its times. The history of the Excelsior Super X is quite an interesting history. The Excelsior company actually started making bikes in Chicago in 1907. In 1911, Schwinn bought the company and moved right ahead building twin-cylinder motorcycles, and by 1915 he developed the Big Valve X, truly the monster bike of its day. The Excelsior racing team was nothing but the best. Ignis Schwinn made sure that he had the most talented riders in the country. Bob Perry, his favorite son, was actually killed on an overhead cam Excelsior. None of those bikes have ever turned up. But this machine, one of 5 or 6 existing, quite an interesting bike, an as-raced patina. I really like the bird on the tank, shaped like an X. Don't know if they did that on purpose, but I would have to think that the bird and the shape of the X symbolizes the Super X company. Whenever I start a bike here at Wheels Through Time, it always attracts a crowd of people, and this noisy motorcycle always attracts a crowd of people. This bunch, where are you guys from?
Chicago. Florida.
Florida, where?
Florida.
Florida. Welcome, guys. I'm going to crank this thing up one more time. Simple starting procedure. Turn the gas on. Advance the spark. Take the choke off because the bike's already warm. Decompress the engine. Should be ready to go. one more thing. A lot of people ask if I ever get worried about damage on these bikes. I always say no, but I can tell you one thing. If you ever broke apart on the Big Valve X, you'd have a hard time finding it.
Find us on Facebook, Born to Ride TV and magazines, the ultimate multimedia biker experience.
Everyone was right, I was born to ride.
Born to Ride is a multimedia marketing and promotional machine with TV, magazines, streaming radio, and internet advertising opportunities. There are tens of thousands of motorcycles. We reach the people who ride them. Born to Ride. Find out more at borntoride.com.
What are some of your favorite bikes? I mean, we have nearly 240 bikes here. There must be some.
Oh, you know, they're all favorites. And a lot of people ask, what's your favorite bike, or what do you ride the most? And I don't really have an answer for that. You know, they're all favorites in some way. Probably the bikes I've ridden the furthest would be the 17 Henderson 24-hour endurance bike, Maldwin Jones's old factory racing bike. I rode that bike from Los Angeles to New York in 1997. And the bike that Wayne rode in the Great American Race, the prototype Flathead 80, that we took on our ride up on the Parkway. What a great bike that is. I've ridden it probably 30 or 40,000 miles in the last 10 years.
Tell us a little bit about the museum in the fact that we have themes that work throughout the museum here,
Well, you know, we're
different periods.
You're right. Right now we're sitting on the porch of a teens motorcycle shop, and behind that door, let's see, there's a Wagner motorcycle from 1909. There's a 13 Harley. There's an old Excelsior Twin and a Yale. There's actually 28 brands of American motorcycles here, and right around us there's some interesting machines. 1916 Flying Merkel, the rare messenger pigeon carrier that many people enjoy. And the other thing that really makes this look is all the pictures, posters, and all the things inside that building that are all very representative of a teens motorcycle shop. Further in the back is a recreation of an old Harley-Davidson dealer in Energy, Illinois, George Swim. And the workbenches and tools and fixtures, many of the bikes in that back shop were George's stuff. One of the favorite displays here is the Hill Climb display, which is a 45-foot circle of dirt, rocks, put together with probably the best collection of rare American hill climbing bikes in the world.
Something I like about the museum, a lot of bikes here are not restored, they're just as they are. What's your concept about that? You know, you go to some museums, collections, everything's completely immaculate and restored.
You know, I had one fellow comment today that he really enjoyed the unrestored bikes, but what he was amazed with is that the unrestored bikes, the condition of them, the preservation of them. So I think many times you see an unrestored machine not in running condition. What you're going to find here is hopefully mechanical perfection. So all these old machines that have passed through the shop, before they get out the door, I try to do what I have to do to make it run and drive. So part of the integrity of this museum is keeping these rare motorcycles alive, whether they're in original condition or a restored beauty.
Where do you work on the bikes? You
know, I've got a 2,400 square foot shop at the rear of the building. Occasionally I'll work on the bikes in some of the old shops. But it's a very efficient shop. I pretty well work it myself. I got a couple friends that help out occasionally. And in fact, I was able to crank out 6 complete motorcycles last year in my spare time.
What for someone who might want to be coming to visit?
I guess people don't really understand what's here until they experience it. So you can talk about it till you're blue in the face. And people don't really understand Wheels Through Time until they've had the experience. So I can only hope that the visual impression that people receive in just seeing us chat here is enough to make them come. And once they come, of course, they will send a friend.
So basically, they've got to come in and say they're Born to Ride viewers, and they're going to get a good tour.
I'll tell you what, if they mention Born to Ride, we'll do something special for them.